Hey guys, it's Mrs. Knight here. I'm doing the front facing camera just so that you can see that it is me. We're getting ready to do the second video to the creating your tessellation artwork. We did the first video was creating your puzzle piece, which was this right here. Okay. And on this video, we're going to use it to create your artwork. Okay. So I just wanted you to see that it is me. Hello. We're getting ready to switch it to the camera, the document camera here, so that you can see what I'm working on here. Okay. All right. So the last time you were with me, you had your piece of paper, and we had taken, in my case, I used a Captain Crunch box, and we had taken a square, and I'd shown you how to draw the little pieces here and to create your own tessellation piece. All right. And when we had left, you had taken, the last thing we had done was taken a white piece of paper and had traced the tessellation or the puzzle piece. And I said, we're going to trace it right here in the middle. And I told you to stop and take a picture of it and take a good quality picture of it and make sure to send it to me. I'll spit it out here in a minute. To send it to me so that I could give you a grade for creating your tessellation puzzle piece, okay? All right, so in this video, I want to remind you to make sure that you're using your tessellation piece with your name up, that side up, because if you accidentally flip this, for me, it'd be easy to tell that I flipped it because I have this colorful side on the side. But if you're using, a regular piece of paper, cardstock, or the manila folder, it may not be as easy to tell that you've accidentally flipped it. So make sure you're using the side with your name on it, okay? Now, a tessellation is pretty cool because the puzzle piece fits into itself if we've made it correctly. As you can tell, I can now move this piece and I can move it over here and see how this line matches up with that line. So it fits into itself. Or I can move it over here and it'll fit into itself. I can also slide it down to here and it fits into itself. Or over to here and it fits into itself like a puzzle, okay? If for some reason this gets flipped over and I didn't notice, it's not going to fit into itself, all right? So that's why it's important to make sure that you use the side with your name on it, all right? Now we're going to place it back carefully, and you're going to, using your pencil, go back and trace it. The best and easiest way to trace is to have your pencil straight up, okay? Not sideways at an angle, straight up. And go slow and careful along your edges, especially if you have a long skinny piece like I do right here that sticks out, because that can get bent up and it can get kind of hard to trace around it. And then you're just going to move this piece around and trace around it. Notice I don't have to retrace this piece again because I've already traced it in the previous one. All right, so I'm going to keep tracing my tessellation piece over and over and over. And I always go and start off of this main one here. And again, I don't have to trace this piece up the top here because it's already been traced. I can just focus on this bottom two sides. All right, and then come over here. Right, like that. And trace. And I'm going to keep tracing this piece even where it falls off the edge. It's important to go all the way off the edge. So sometimes you're just going to be tracing just a little tiny bit of it off the edge. And then right here, like this piece, it's just a little tiny piece right there. Okay, so I want to show you where I had been working on that already. All right, so here is one where I was working on it, and I wanted you to see something. It's a little hard to see the pencil with that light on. I wanted you to see that as I started getting towards the end here, I had started working over here, and then I went up along the edge here, not paying attention to this piece. And what happened is, you'll notice in the pencil that some of the pieces don't actually start fitting right. You may have to as you get towards the end. Look at this piece. It's like it doesn't fit right with this one. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so that you can see what I'm trying to show you here, because some of you may experience this problem, and I want to give you some tricks on how you can fix that. so you don't get frustrated, okay? So as you can see, as I was doing this piece, as I was doing this piece down here, I thought, well, I'm just going to go over here and go ahead and do this piece, and then I'm going to do this piece. Well, I got slightly off. So by the time I got up to this piece, when I went over here to make sure and see if it fit, it doesn't fit. I got this big gap right here. So that's the number one reason why I tell you to do this in pencil first and not in Sharpie. Because if you make a mistake with Sharpie, we can't erase it, okay? And you should always work off your middle pieces. Don't think, oh, I'm just going to go over here to the side and I'm going to work off these off pieces. Always work off the middle pieces and work your way to the outside, okay? So I'm going to move this up here so you can see it. All right. And then I can erase this piece. Now, it may be, it may be a little bit off here. And this is what I mean by when I say sometimes you may have to finagle it just a little bit. This bottom piece down here, I may have to just make it a little bit bigger. It may just have to be a little bit wider right there. But nobody else is going to notice that when I do this project, especially once I put all my details and things in here. Now I'm going to come up here and do this piece. All right, I'm going to come down here and erase any extras. And if I put this piece in here, it's almost exactly. So that worked out pretty good, okay? Now I'm going to come up here, and it's a little bit off, but it's pretty close. I'm going to come up here. All right, that one's a little bit off. I can make it pretty close. So you always want to work off your main area. You don't want to try to skip around a little bit because it can get off a little bit. If you're working and all of a sudden you're like, dang, this one piece is going to be a little bit bigger, you may have to move your puzzle piece over just a little bit and kind of finagle it, okay? See, like right there, that's not going to fit exactly. So I'm just going to kind of move this up just a little bit. Some of you may not have this problem at all, and some of you may, and I just don't want you to get frustrated and be like, oh, Miss Knight, it just didn't work that well. Well, I'm going to tell you, by the time you put all your designs and stuff in here, and I'm going to show you one that I worked on that got a little bit difficult on the end, but you probably won't notice it because of all my details in there, okay? All right, so now all I'm going to do is just make sure that I erase anything I didn't need in there, okay? Okay, I'm going to zoom back out, and just like in the classroom, it's going to take it a minute to focus, okay? So step one, after you have drawn it all, you've covered the entire paper with pencil, your pencil sketches, all right? Step two is then you take your Sharpie, and you're going to want a scrap piece of paper for going off the edges, and in case your paper is thin like mine is, if it goes through or bleeds through, you don't want it to get on the surface that you're working on, okay? Whether it's my art table, or if you're doing this at home, your desk or your surface, or in my case, your kitchen table, you don't want this to get on your things at home, okay? Because Sharpie is permanent. All right, so then you want to take your Sharpie and outline your tessellation or your puzzle pieces. Again, another reason why we do it in pencil is so if we make any kind of mistakes, we can erase those first. All right. So step one, using your puzzle piece, trace it until it falls off all the edges and covers the entire page. Step two, using a scrap piece of paper for your edges and any bleeding through. Use a Sharpie to trace your entire page, okay? So there's my step two. All right, and you can erase any stray pencil marks if you have them, okay? All right, now, step three. As you were doing this puzzle piece, I was telling you in your other video and now in this video, you need to look at your puzzle piece and see what it reminds you of. Your artwork could go horizontally this way, or it could go up and down this way, or it could go this way, okay? But now you've got to kind of turn it into something, make it into some kind of shape or object, okay? Now, originally when I was doing this, when I was looking at this shape, it reminded me, I was like, oh, it could be a leaf, it could be an alien, it could be an aircraft or a UFO. And then I was like, oh, it could be a stingray swimming through the water. And then I was like, oh, I want to make it into a fish. I want to make this the tail of the fish, and this the fin, and this the fin, and this the face, Okay, so while I was doing it, this whole time I thought, oh, I'm going to make it into a fish. Then after I traced it and I did this, I ended up turning it into a flower. I was like, I'm going to turn it into a Kayla Lily flower. This is going to be the center of it, and these were going to be the petals. And I put a dragonfly on this one. And I was like, I'm going to make it like this big picture of all these beautiful flowers. But then as I did this, and at one time I turned it upside down to get some details in there, I was like, oh, I don't know what hit me, and I don't know why I thought of this, but I like this idea even better. This is that exact same shape. I mean, if you don't believe me, check it. It's the exact same shape. I decided to turn it into spiders. Now, as you can tell, I'm definitely not done with this piece, and I've had to actually do some changes because it wasn't working. So I decided to do what I'm calling emoji spiders. I started out with this shape, and I turned it this way, and I went up and down with it, and I drew my little spider shape, and then I drew that little spider shape in a couple of different ones. And then in the ones separating them, I decided I was going to do spider webs. And at first, the way I was doing it is I drew it with pencil, which is, I know, difficult to see because the light shines on it, but I promise that's drawn first in pencil. And then I was going back with Sharpie, and again, I used my scrap paper, and I was outlining it and leaving white where I wanted the webs. But my Sharpie kept bleeding into itself, and I wasn't leaving a nice clean border. So my tessellation pieces started getting lost, and I didn't feel like you could tell that these were all separate pieces. So I was like, okay, I've got to do something different. So I went back and just colored the whole thing, the whole tessellation pieces you can see on the back, just solid black. And instead, I got a silver gel pen and went over top because I knew gel pen would go over top of Sharpie to do my webs, and decided I wanted all my webs to go in the same direction instead of different directions. And I made a border. That way, now I feel like the viewer of my artwork can tell that these are separate pieces. And tessellation is about, the object of it is separate pieces that fit together to create an artwork. Separate objects that fit together to create the whole. So this is what I came up with. So as you can tell, it's not finished yet. I just wanted to go ahead and get this video out there so that you guys could get started on yours, especially those of you who are a little bit further ahead. So I am going to finish by coloring these shapes in and then using my gel pen to create the webs in those. I used just plain marker for these, just Crayola markers. And then I used black Sharpie, a skinnier black Sharpie to give me some details. On this one is just some scribble to give me some kind of texture to kind of make him look a little fuzzier. I left white spots on my eyeballs to kind of give them some, little highlight, little detail for my folks. This one is just more got stripes than scribbles, but to give him a little detail. I haven't finished putting some detail on those. And then I used a silver gel pen, to go over top of my Sharpie. So that is how my tessellation came out. It went from leaf to UFO to stingray to fish to some sort of flower to spider. What is yours going to be? I can't wait to see. Last and final step would be, after I finish this, would be to turn it over and to make sure that my name got on my artwork. Now, once I color this all in with the black Sharpie, it's going to be really hard to find my name. So I'm going to put my name in pencil on my yellow spider because it's going to be a bright spot. Notice that I'm not going to put my name in there with Sharpie because I don't want black Sharpie on my yellow spider, because then my name would show up on the other side and ruin my beautiful artwork. Please don't do that, okay? Also, one of my last steps is going to be to take a really nice picture that makes sure that I get the whole page. A real good quality picture of my artwork that gets the entire artwork in the frame. All right, and that gets sent to me, Mrs. Knight. So I know Mrs. Knight, can give you guys the credit that you deserve and earned for creating this really awesome MC Escher inspired tessellation. All right, so can't wait to see what you guys have created with your tessellations. I'm really hoping that you've created something of your own, something unique, and not just copied my ideas. I want to see your ideas. I want to see what kind of creatures you came up, and they can be out of your own imagination. They can be made up things. They don't have to be, based on something real out there. They can be made up things. Okay. Um, Again, step 1, trace your tessellation all over your paper in pencil off the page. Step 2, outline it in Sharpie. Step 3, draw in your details with pencil. And then step 4, color it in. You may color it in using markers, crayons, color pencils, or a mixture of your choice. Maybe even some gel pens if you need it. All right, guys, I'm looking forward to seeing your artworks. Stay well. Bye.